Welcome back to The Art of Violence. I wanted to make a quick video illustrating the point that Jake Paul beating Nate Diaz is really not much of an accomplishment, and it really doesn't mean anything, to be honest with you. And how, if I'm being really honest, like, we don't even know if Jake's improved. You don't really know if a guy is improved or not until he faces someone who's better than him multiple times in a row, and you get to see how he does. See, what will happen oftentimes is you'll see a guy and he'll get beat by a guy who's better than him, and then he'll go and he'll fight a couple guys who were like worse than him originally, and he smokes them, but you don't really know if he's improved until he fights that guy who beat him, or other guys who were better than him. You really don't know. And so it's kind of an interesting thing, because he got beat by Tommy Fury, got outclassed. If it wasn't for that knockdown at the end of the fight, it was more of a slip, to be honest. But if it wasn't for that, it would have been a unanimous decision for Tommy, most likely. And so after that, Jake goes and decides to fight Nate Diaz. Everyone thought Nate Diaz was going to be much more of a battle and much more of a formidable test for Jake Paul than he was, but I mean, everyone could see the dude is old. He's like decrepit. I'm not trying to be mean. How about I run into the Diaz brothers on like an elevator? But like, I mean, he looked like he was vacationing for a month in Cabo or something, or St. Lucia, wherever it is, some island. Just got a call. It's like, hey, you want to fight, Jake Paul for $5 million? He's like, oh, here we go, and he just puts his beer down, puts his watermelon down, puts his weed down, and just hops on a plane and just steps right in the ring. I mean, that's how he looked. Looked very uncoordinated, very sloppy. His punches were just, he was throwing punches again, like this, no power, no ability to sit on any of his punches, no ability to generate any force. And he did that the whole fight. And it's just weird, because in MMA, he actually typically will sit on his punches a little bit more. And in boxing, where you really can sit on your punches without a threat of a leg kick or a takedown, he just seemed to not know how to do it. I mean, it was very strange. And he kept running into range just with his hands loosely kind of out here, which is not good. If you're gonna go hands up, you want to have a tight guard here so you can look and block, and if a punch comes, you can really absorb it. You can't have your hand here, because it's gonna get through, and it's gonna hit you with your own glove. And punches are just gonna get through in general. Someone can pull your arm down and hit you in the face, and Nate just seemed to not know how to box. And it's weird, because Nate is supposed to be a good boxer. And it was very strange, to be honest with you. It was very strange. And I don't think Jake beating Nate is an accomplishment, really, in the slightest, to be honest with you. I think Tyron Woodley was probably a harder fight than Nate. Tyron Woodley in the second fight, I believe that fight was tied going into the 6th or 7th round. Would have been 3-3 going into the 7th round, I believe. And then, Tyron Woodley made a terrible defensive decision, decided to play paddywhack in range, got paddywhacked. So, I really don't think this is a decision. I don't think this is a big deal, him beating Nate Diaz. I think this is almost like 2 to 3 steps down in competition from Tommy Fury. And I think Jake probably kind of knew that in a sense, and I think he picked the right guy. I think he knew Nate Diaz was just going to be, at the tail end of his his physical capabilities in terms of fighting. I think he knew damn well that Nate wasn't going to be able to do a whole lot. I think he knew that, as long as he could not get caught up with the volume and keep some of his cardio and stay defensively sound enough to the point where he could deal with Nate's volume and pitter-patter punches, I think he knew he was going to win, and he made a good decision picking Nate. But is this like a test to see how Jake Paul is doing in his fight career, and to see if he's going to be a world champion, and to see if he's, progressed significantly? I don't think so. I mean, he did look better in some ways he didn't. And again, you don't really know if someone's progressed until they face that higher level competition who can expose their flaws. That's going to force them to adjust on the fly, and get it together and make the proper changes in the fight to win. Nate is not that guy. I mean, Jake did look better in some ways he didn't. His feet were all over the place. Moving backwards, he looked a little better, but still his feet were coming together a lot. He was taking steps with his front foot when you should really be taking them with your back foot. He was doing a lot of things that they're going to get him in trouble. Even defensively, he would kind of just sit there too long and not know what to do. He should have been clinching Nate a lot sooner than he was, just kind of letting Nate tee off on him with the pitter-patter punches, which, can add up and can, if you don't see one coming, it gets you in the right spot. It could drop you or maybe even knock you out. It's not hard to knock out a human being. So, yeah, I don't think this is a big deal. I don't think we should look at this and go, oh, Jake not beat Nate Diaz. This is like incredible. Jake's a phenomenal boxer. He's going to be a world champion. I don't think we should do that. I don't think we should do any of that. I think this is kind of just a warm up for Jake to get back in there with Tommy Fury, someone better, and we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I don't think this is like a big accomplishment for Jake. And I don't think anyone should really think that either, because Nate's boxing IQ and skill the night of the fight were less than average. I mean, it was not good. And the fact that Jake couldn't put him away almost makes Jake look bad, to be honest with you, because with the way Nate was fighting, he should have been able to put him away in like 4 or 5, and he didn't. So Jake did well. The fact that he couldn't put him away is a bit of a disappointment to, I think, himself and everyone else. He definitely has a lot of things to work on. We'll see what he does next. But yeah, I don't think Jake beating Nate Diaz is like a big indicator of his future success in boxing, assuming he's going to fight guys that are better, or he's just going to stick with MMA guys. Sounds like he wants to do an MMA fight. I don't really know which direction he's going. If he thinks he's going to go do an MMA fight and then come back into boxing and fight high-level guys and it's going to go well, he's wrong probably, because they're 2 different sports. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how he adjusts. It did look like he learned some new things from his new camp with Shane Mosley. We'll see how it goes for him. Best of luck to Jake. This is The Art of Violence, and until next time.